other players in terms of getting back into the game and how they feel about it?
Yeah, I've spoke to a few players, and a lot of players do not want to go back. They want it to finish because they're human too. And I know there's a lot of money involved. This is the problem. That's what's going to force it. But they are human, they are families, they are people. And I think it's right. If there's this a big problem out there, we need to make sure everyone's blessed. It doesn't matter what you do, what you have, or what you earn. People need to be, with their families and healthy. So the players I spoke to, I won't say their names because they'll get in trouble. They basically saying everyone in the change room, but they're being told they're going to try and get it back as soon as they can. But there's still a problem out there. And how are you going to play football without contact? It's impossible. It's not football. We're going to have social distancing football. What is that? So I think personally as well, I think it's right that it's ended and we get this problem over with and then, try and get life back.
Yeah. I'm really keen to see how, I've spoken to a few players as well, who, as Leroy said, they don't want to come back. And some of them I've spoken to are adamant they're not coming back until they've got better assurances. I'm really keen to see how firm they stand to that view, because the players here have the power. It's not the Premier League or the leagues or the broadcasters. The players here have the power.
Jordan, they don't. Jordan, they don't.
Hold on a sec. Doesn't this affect the money? Like, if they don't play, then their money stops.
Jordan, their contract.
But you know what? If I'm Sergio Aguero on 300 bags a week, I cannot get paid for 6 months, and I'm okay.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
That depends on what you're spending.
Exactly. How do you know that? You don't know that.
Everything's
true. That is true.
Leroy, just very quickly, because Darren Bent, who was actually hoping to get on this as well, but Darren Bent, he mentioned on TalkSport this idea that the amount of money that footballers earn is always being sort of fantasized about and sort of used as a weapon in terms of how people should behave and what they should do. In terms of just planning and the sort of how football money works, is it as insane as we think it is? How are players rationing their salaries, or how important is those salaries going forward? Because I think everyone thinks that, yes, you get £300,000 a week, you don't need to consider money ever again, let alone in the 6 months here.
It's really bad that they report it like that. They forget tax. Footballers' tax is nearly 50%.
That's true.
So, and it's never what's written in the paper, and that's what people see, right? So you don't know how that person lives their life as well. You don't know what a young player will get on big money straight away. He might get a mortgage loan for 5 years. If you stop his money now, he's probably bought a £4 million house or something like that. So he won't be able to play. Jordan said about player power. They don't have the power. Why? If you think if they had the power, they won't come out. One of them say, right, we've all agreed we don't want. Not one person. Do you understand? Not one person's done that. So there's a reason for that.
You could be right. You could be right, Leroy. But my thing is that if there's enough players that say, I've got a 85-year-old mother, I've got a partner and a wife who's got underlying health issues, and I've got two kids. Yeah. Okay.
Pitney.
And sorry. I got two youths. I got two kids. Sorry, I got two kids. Yeah. I can do that here. I can't do it on Channel 4. And if I've got that situation going on, I'm not comfortable coming back into an environment where I think the players are comfortable that they will be fine. They're young and they're fit. Generally, I think they'll be fine. They're more concerned about their families. If I'm concerned that I could bring that back to my elderly mother or father and my partner, you know what? I don't see any court in the land, and I refuse to play on the basis that the working environment is not safe. I don't think any court in the land is going to take the side of a club trying to force me to my contract to play and work. Let's not forget, it's work in an environment that I deem unsafe. Mm-hmm. So I reckon that's why they have got the power on this time.
Can I just ask, where does this narrative...
Aren't the Premier League proposing that the players are staying in hotels like they're kept away from their families for, I don't know, a certain amount of weeks, and they're going to be tested? I think they're spending what?
But Sam, some people, that will affect their performance, and you take people away from their family. As a player, I didn't mind being them out, but I play with players who, when their family away, you see the difference. And so there's loads of things to go into. And would you risk that anyway? But you don't know
I'm not saying I would risk it. I'm just saying that, okay, the Premier League are going through hell and high water to make sure that they have every procedure, every safety measure going. think that's my problem. I'm very much a devil's advocate. I can see things from both sides. Me personally, safety first and family first. But what we've just discussed at the root of it is it's a business and it's a money, and there's a lot of money. There's billions at stake here, and that's what's driving everything.
Sam, with that though, would you not rather them use that energy to get society safe?
I would. Well, I would, because when I said that, the Premier League.
Let's forget. We know it's all about money.
They should give it to the public.
Yeah.
But for some reason, football exists in this bubble.
Is that a bit of a?
One of the biggest exports or the best exports of the UK. They're going to.
Yeah.
Is that definitely a bit of a fantasy in terms of, and I think I did a podcast on this last week about where money should go. So sometimes when people say there's billionaires, we did a podcast on billionaires. They were like, billionaires, they have too much money. They should give 90% of it away, 900 million away to the public. And it's like, but no one has a liquid billion just sitting there to be distributed. And so the value of things is $1 billion, but most of that is already spent before it's even been calculated. So is it a genuine thing to believe that football can play a much greater role in terms of where does this narrative come from? Where is the kind of underlying undertone of football players are to blame for everything? Where do you think that's come from?
It's jealousy, and it's the demonizing of working class young men.
Correct.
It's working class young men that have come from invariably nothing to becoming uber wealthy, and some people don't like it. They can't take it. It's a combination of jealousy. Jealousy, as far as I'm concerned, is a human trait. We all have jealousy. It's just levels of how jealous you are. But it's also the demonizing of, because no one's saying this about rugby players or comedians
or cricketers
or politicians or bankers. They earn more than footballers.
Yeah.
But what separates footballers from everybody else who's wealthy
Footballers are an easier target because they won't, maybe they will now, but in the past they haven't really spoken up and said anything. They've just gotten on.
So who controls the narrative of footballers? Why is it so badly being represented? Why is there so much negative headlines? The game itself has got some, and then the players have got loads. Who's supposed to be controlling the narrative? Who's to blame for that?
Well, who controls that? The media control that. You know what I mean? When they talk about players, it's never. You never hear a story about a tennis player doing this or cricket. Cricket's a rich man's sport, right? So is tennis. So a lot of players. And rugby.
I think every sport, sorry to cut you off, but with every sport, there is someone deemed a bad boy. So with tennis, for example, Nick Kyrgios, he's seen as the bad boy because he
comes for nothing as well.
Whatever. But there you go. I mean, I like him. I don't mind. I think he's brilliant. But I do think footballers are an easier target. But within each sport, if there's someone that doesn't go with the grain, they're automatically seen as the bad person or the bad boy.
Yeah.
But no, I totally get where you're coming from, Leroy.
Just to push back a little bit on Leroy's point about the media being the ones that control the narrative.
Don't get offended.
No, I'm not. I'm going to defend the media here a little bit. Yeah. Whilst that's not in itself untrue, the media will generally will dictate what they do by public. So if the public weren't interested in footballers, the media wouldn't give it attention. Yeah. So the public have a role to play in this as well. Yeah. If nobody in the country cared about footballers, the media would not give it. No, but it's chicken and egg. Which came first?
But why isn't it the problem of the PFA, the Premier League, and the FA to control the narrative about the game, which ultimately they all profit from and they're supposed to be representing? Why are they not coming together, creating a consistent communication about what the players are doing, what the clubs are doing, and what the game is doing to, one, preserve itself, to support the national interest, but